Attention to all founders, hustlers, and hardworking entrepreneurs. The Hustle's 2024 Entrepreneurship Trends Report is out now, and it's a goldmine of valuable strategies, data-driven insights, and expert tips for elevating your business. Have you ever wondered how successful business owners are staying ahead of the crowd in today's super competitive market? Well, we talked to over 500 small business owners to uncover how they're doing it and did a ton of research so you don't have to. We know you're busy building your business, so we got you covered. The Hustle's 2024 Entrepreneurship Trends Report is something you don't want to miss. This right here is the future of entrepreneurship. So stop what you're doing right now and check the link in the show notes to get that report right now. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, October 8th. I'm John Weigell here with Rob Litterst, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. We're throwing you a bone today with a story about dogs. Pet, and particularly dog ownership, has risen so much in the US that it's starting to have huge effects on real estate and public spaces. Demand has gone up more for dog parks and dog-centric businesses in cities like St. Petersburg, Florida, and Washington, D.C. But what does this dog attachment mean for the future of American living? We'll get to that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. To start us off real quick, SpaceX's Starlink received temporary approval from the Federal Communications Commission to provide coverage to areas hit by Hurricane Helene. The satellites enabled emergency alerts for all cell phones and SMS texting for T-Mobile customers, and we'd love to hear that. Next, we talk about Gen Z quite a lot in the workplace and what they're doing and where they're at, but what about Gen X? We never really talk about them. Well, according to a new report from workplace software company Achievers, Gen Xers are 30% less likely than others to say they're meaningfully recognized at work, and they're also 24% less likely to be enthusiastic about their job. Now, Rob, I don't know if you are closer than any Gen Xers in the office, but what do you think about all this?
So I'm a millennial myself. I think to be a Gen Xer right now, you have to be between the ages of 44 and 59. And the thing that's interesting about this and that really struck me is I feel like the whole ethos of Gen X is to be kind of apathetic about things. Like if you've ever seen that movie Reality Bites with Ethan Hawke, Winona Ryder, he's just like very skeptical and cynical about everything and like not really into anything. And I feel like that's kind of like the Gen X zeitgeist. Mm-hmm. And I read this book, The 90s by Chuck Klosterman, which was another commentary on Gen X. And that's exactly what he said in that book too. In the 90s, it wasn't cool to care too much about anything. And so I read this like 24% less likely to be enthusiastic about their job. And my first thought was honestly like, sounds about right. Yeah. But that is sad. I do think that so much of what's going on, especially in like a tech company like HubSpot and like what we see every day is like excitement about AI, trying to figure out how to build it into our workflow with this idea of like decades of work life on the horizon where we're going to be using it. And I think Gen X is probably in a little bit of a different boat because most of those folks probably aren't planning on working for, decades and decades into the future, right? Yeah. Retirement is, I think, a little bit closer on the horizon. So very interesting study. And I feel like a very underappreciated generation right now.
Yeah, same. As a fellow millennial, I could not agree more. Yeah, you have a lot of people talking about the boomers on their way out, a lot of people talking about Gen Z on their way in, and us and the Gen Xers just kind of floating around just somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
From Gen X, we go to robotics. Agility Robotics Incorporated opened RoboFab, the first humanoid robot factory in the world, in a 70,000 square foot warehouse outside of Salem, Oregon. When it's up and running, the assembly plant is going to be able to produce 10,000 humanoid robots a year. That's too many humanoid robots. For now, Agility's robots, though, are gunning for Employees of the Year at Spanx and Amazon warehouses alike. So it's just a matter of time before all of our production warehouses are going to be, you guessed it, humanoid robots. From robots to AI, here's another platform with its take on AI integration finally, right? Squarespace recently launched Design Intelligence. It's a website builder that relies on generative AI tools like a chatbot to help make your website. You gotta wonder, Rob, what the impact of this is gonna be on the website designers out there. I'm looking at the guys on Fiverr and Upwork and sites like that.
Totally. And I mean, if you've ever tried to build your own website and don't have a design or like engineering background, like I've tried to do that and I've struggled mightily. So This is one use case for AI that I'm super excited about. I definitely worry a little bit for the Fiverr folks. I do still think, though, that anything beyond a very basic website
Right.
is probably still going to need actual human work and engineering, right?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do in Squarespace.
Yeah.
It looks like they're trying to change that and they're giving you more customization. But yeah, I mean, if you want your website to be like really, really sick and stand out and be very different, then you probably do need a web designer at the end of the day.
100%.
And finally, the new Joker movie just had its opening weekend and it just didn't deliver. The film delivered $40 million at the US box office and had a production budget of around $200 million. Comparatively, the first Joker film in 2019 earned $100 million just on its opening weekend. Rob, what do you make of this transition from the first to the second?
Okay, so I have a few thoughts on this. If you look at the top 10 box office movies for this year, they're all parts of existing intellectual property, right? So it's like Inside Out 2 is number 1, Deadpool and Wolverine is 2, and basically everything from there to 10 is all just kind of like existing franchises and sequels. Obviously, this Joker movie is part of that, but the big difference, I do feel like all of the movies that are in the top 10 had some element of fun. I don't think people really watched the first Joker movie and left thinking, I want to see another movie like that. I think a lot of these movies that are doing really well at the box office are kind of like fun and lighthearted. I don't get that same sense from the Joker movies, honestly.
And even if I guess people did walk out of the first one saying that they did want to see a second one, I'm not sure exactly they were expecting a complete format alteration into a musical featuring Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. So that transition is a bit jarring.
Right.
I haven't exactly seen it, but I've seen the memes everywhere and it don't look like it did that well for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the main story today. So a lot of us love dogs, but why does it feel like we're seeing them all over our towns and cities lately? There's a super logical reason for all of this, a boom period of pet ownership from the pandemic, of course. But Rob, can we talk about just how much things have shifted from what dog ownership looked like maybe 10 years ago to right now?
100%. Just watching it generally across society, I think one of the things that we found in this Business Insider article is that almost all US pet owners now say that their dogs or cats are part of their family. That has not always been the case. Even going back to 2006, only 86% of dog owners and 78% of cat owners would consider their pets part of their family. I kind of get that part. I feel like dogs are a little bit nicer and a little bit more affectionate than cats. So I kind of get the gap there. But still surprising that even in the early 2000s, not everybody was considering their pets part of their family. And I think another big factor that this article points to is that a lot of young Americans are having kids later, or they're just not having kids. And even if they are, they're getting dogs first. And I've seen that play out over and over again across friends and family. You mentioned the pandemic. I think that definitely kind of accelerated the pet ownership trend. But I think more and more people are kind of buying dogs as kind of like a first step towards responsibility or taking care of something before they have kids.
Yeah, and it seems like that first step now, in a lot of cases, especially for younger generations, I guess like us and Gen Zers, is even more buying a pet as a kid instead of having an actual kid, which is becoming like a big distinction now, I think. With more people saying that a pet is family, people are actually now taking that literally and having the pet as their family and also taking the pet wherever they go. And I don't know if you've seen in kind of like your surrounding area, but like I feel like I just see a new dog park every week.
Totally.
There's a dog bar kind of near me. It's kind of crazy how they've expanded so much.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think during the pandemic, people moved quite a bit. And if you're moving, one of the easiest ways to meet people is to get a dog. And you mentioned dog parks. You mentioned some of these like dog happy hours. Even in my neighborhood, which doesn't have anything like formally set up, we're in like a suburb of Boston. It's the people that have dogs that are, walking around, meeting people, know everybody in the neighborhood. Dogs are just this very easy kind of social lubricant that I think a lot of people are realizing can help them get acclimated to a new environment or a new neighborhood as well. So along with all of the amazing benefits that you get from having a dog, that companionship and being able to take care of someone, it can also help you make friends too, which is really cool. And I know a lot of people feel kind of up in the air and have spicy takes on whether or not dogs should be allowed in restaurants or bars or anything like that. But that's another trend that I feel like has absolutely gone crazy in the last 10 years.
Yeah, 100%. Just to talk about the sheer amount of dogs, we have some data from the National Association of Realtors that says the share of households with pets has actually grown from 56% in 1988 to 66% today.
Huge jump.
And during the pandemic alone, over 23 million households had dogs in their homes. And that is just a big, big, big jump, even though it's since 1988. That's a massive percentage increase.
And I feel like it's kind of across the board, right? I see a lot of young families buying a dog before they have kids, like we talked about. But then I also see kind of elder parents whose kids are out of the house and are starting their own families buying dogs. So yeah, it's no surprise to me that you see that big jump. The other thing about pets is it's really big business. I think there's a lot of different angles to monetizing this boom in pet ownership. I mean, you see kind of like the classic pet stores and like pet supplies like PetSmart, Petco, Chewy. Obviously, I've been using Chewy for a while and absolutely love what they do. If your pet passes away, they send you like a handwritten note. Aww. They care. They're one of those companies that I think is doing it right and like really understands their customer. But then you even get like pet insurance. Like a buddy of mine just got a dog and he was talking about how much he's paying for pet insurance. I've had a dog for over a decade. I don't pay for pet insurance. And so I was kind of astonished by how much he's paying for that. I do pay for an annual plan with our vet that includes a bunch of different things.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which it's not cheap, but it's also not crazy expensive either. Pets definitely are expensive. And I think there's a reason that there's a lot of different businesses going up around pets. This rise in ownership has just created a lot of different opportunities out there.
Yeah. And something else about the pet industry that this Business Insider article pointed out that I thought was fascinating is that the pet industry is basically recession-proof. Businesses like PetSmart through the whole 2008 recession, 2007, 2008, were largely fine, just completely untouched because, you know, it might be a recession and things might be on the downturn, but you still have a dog that still needs to eat. So it's pretty crazy how they've kind of withstood the test of time. And these like PetSmart, Petco businesses have. But now, as you said, you're getting an influx of these new type businesses that are kind of putting themselves in the pet space and dog bars, as we mentioned earlier, and places for people to go with their dogs. So yeah, it seems like a real big business for people to get into right now.
Oh, for sure. And to your point, I feel like most of the businesses out there around pets are not like discretionary businesses. It's like pet food, pet care, pet treatments, like stuff like that that's just not going to go away. Like obviously you see the people every now and then that they like put their dog in like a Packers jersey or something like that, you know, like those kind of like crazy things that you'll buy. But most people, I don't think, are making those splurges on their dog. So their purchases tend to be like really kind of like core things that you're just not going to stop spending money on in a recession. It's like you have to feed your dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, super resilient category. And I don't see it going anywhere. One of my best friends has 4 dogs.
4 dogs?
4 dogs. And I told him, I was like, dude, I think 4 dogs is at least equal to raising 1 child. That is very, very difficult.
That's actually the exact math. That's how it checks out.
This is the transitive property of mathematics. I think it comes out just about equal.
All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get signed up at hustle.co/email. Throw us a follow on Instagram and go walk that dog. We'll see you tomorrow.